Hey, what's up guys, it's Cher, and it's been a while since I've been on this channel. If you follow me on my other social medias, you guys know that I have been really active on TikTok, but I've left my channel kind of dormant for the past little while. And I was always wondering and thinking about it, like, what's gonna be the thing that makes me come back to YouTube? What's gonna be the thing that makes me want to talk to you guys on here in a different kind of vibe? And I never really knew what that thing would be, and I thought it would be a TV show that I really liked and I just had to talk about on the internet because I had a lot of feelings. Actually, that's not the case this time. I don't like something so much that I have to talk about it on the internet. So here we are to talk about the Winx Fate Club saga on Netflix. I've already seen a couple reviews on the whole series. I've watched the series, and I think we all initially have the same problems. Spoilers ahead. If you're not into that, please go watch the series and then come right back. But let's get straight into it. I think the first initial problem I had with it was the fat phobia. So there was fat phobia in this. There was this weird character in there that was homophobic, but he's like the bad boy, so he's allowed to be homophobic. And then a weird character that didn't want to label their sexuality, which is fine to a certain extent. I think it is important to have labels, or at least have a really good understanding on why the character doesn't want to label himself. And just a lot of unnecessary character changes. So let's get right into it. So to start off with the fat phobia that I saw in the show was they added a new character who wasn't in the original Winx Club series. If you haven't seen the original Winx, honestly, you'll probably really like the series because you have no idea what the original like plot lines were, the original stories, and how like the characters really went about their day-to-day life, which is fine. You'll probably like this a lot more than literally everyone else. You're gonna like it. The people who have seen the cartoon, Anyway, so they added a new character named Tara, who is supposed to be the cousin of Flora. Flora was originally created based off of Jennifer Lopez, so she was supposed to be Hispanic, Latina, brown-skinned, ethnic, right? So they give her a white cousin named Tara who happens to be fat. One, I don't believe the actress is fat. She's chunky at best, which is fine, you know, but then they have her wanting to be made fun of for her fashion, or aching for friendship that she just isn't given because she's a big girl, and big girls aren't supposed to be, like, cool, I guess. And the thing that really bothered me about this is that you can just have a fat character. You can just have a character who is plus size and just exist, but instead they had the character want to be fat shamed and made fun of and aching for friendship that she didn't get from the other characters. Gross. I'm going to go into that in a little bit more in detail when we start talking about the plot, but that was initially just the thing that bothered me the most about Tara as a character, especially because she actually is the most likable character on this reboot. Honestly, I think she's my favorite. Enter Riven. We have Riven here, and I won't lie, when I was a child back in 2004, I thought Riven was all that in a bag of chips. I thought he was so fine. I wanted him to be with Musa, and I just wanted them to work it out, right? In this, he's still awful, so I guess that's true to character, but he's homophobic. But then also, like a little, you know, like, I don't know, I feel like he got a little something in him, but we gonna talk about that later. And then we have another character who wasn't in the original, a black man, boy, teenager, who happens to be like, but like, he doesn't label himself. He's obviously attracted to Riven, and then he's obviously attracted to another character named Beatrix. So instead of just saying like he's bisexual or that he's pan, it's just alluded to that he's some type of gay. He's some type of gay. We don't know which kind. It's a surprise. And I don't like shows that claim to want to add more inclusivity and then take other things away and then add homophobia. and add fat phobia. They say that they added the character Tara because they wanted to add a plus size woman into the plot. And she was originally going to play Flora, but then they changed her to Tara, whatever. First of all, Flora was supposed to be of a Hispanic descent, whether that be Mexican or just like something. They made her a white girl. Why? And the thing is, if you wanted her to be plus size, I don't believe that you couldn't find a plus size Latina actress. You can be both. Fun fact. I don't know if they know that, but you can be both. So that was quite a letdown. The weird homophobia vibe from Riven, while he also felt a little, that was interesting. Very interesting. Very fun and good and fresh. Not. So those are just my initial problems with it. And then we also need to talk about how Tekna was completely removed from the show. She was a technology fairy, and I guess they were going in a direction of where it's like, it's just about the mind and the earth and the wilderness. So I guess they just felt like they didn't need technology, so they removed Tekna. I liked Tekna a lot. She was fun. And this universe actually was very much a human universe. Like, there was nothing really cool or interesting about the other realm. They call it the other world, the other realm, versus Althea College in on a different planet, which is fine, I guess. It just felt a little weird. Another little problem that I had is that Musa was supposed to be based off of Lucy Liu, who is a Chinese American, and then they brought in a actress who was actually a very good actress. I'm not shitting on the actress at all. She just happens to not be Chinese or Asian. I don't know. I don't know this lady. Shout out to her, but she doesn't look East Asian. And that was when a character is based off of, like, Jennifer Lopez and Flora were supposed to be based off of one another, right? So then you would think if Musa is based off of Lucy Liu and her character actually wears a lot of Chinese and Japanese, Korean outfits, like in the cartoon, you would expect a character who is also Asian, and she just is not that. She might be, because she looks not white, but she doesn't look Asian, you know? So that was just another problem that I had. There's just so many opportunities to give women of color such great acting jobs and opportunities, and they just don't take them. These people who are making these decisions are usually old American white men who don't view women of color as interesting or as desirable, so they pick white women instead. And that's just really played out. We're in 2021. I know this was filming probably 2019, 2020, but like, come on, step your pussies up. Let's do something kind of, and I hate to say that, but like different and cool. Like, let's have women who actually represent the original characters play them in the live action. I know, crazy, unheard of, insane. But that's just how I feel about it. So, plot of the Winx Fate saga is that Bloom finds out that she's a fairy. She meets the college director of the school, Althea. She tells her that she has powers and that she needs to come to the other world to learn how to master her powers. Which relatively is actually quite close to the plot of the first episode of Winx Club. In the original Winx Club series, we have Bloom hanging out with her pet rabbit in the woods, and then she runs into Stella, who happens to be fighting a troll. When she sees that Stella is not succeeding in defeating this troll, Bloom steps in, randomly starts having powers, and then she, you know, helps her fight the troll, and then she gets to become a fairy. She gets to go to Althea College, and she has a great relationship with her parents, and her parents know what's going on, and then she moves to Althea in another realm. It doesn't happen like that in the Winx Club series on Netflix. Instead, Bloom has a terrible relationship with her mom, and she calls her mom a basic bitch, which was just weird and unheard of, because her mom called her a loner and was like, you should have friends. Sorry, I'm not a basic bitch like my mom. And then she gets so upset that her mom steals her door that she sets the house on fire and gives her mom third-degree burns. Fire fairy, what are you gonna do? And apparently Bloom is so strong and so powerful, she could be one of the most powerful fairies in the world as long as she gets the training, which is why the director of the Althea College comes to her, tells her that she's a fairy, and that she should come to the school and learn how to be a fairy. So they take away that initial introduction that Bloom and Stella have as friends. They become fast friends, and then they're kind of attached at the hip, and then Bloom meets everyone else, and then they all become connected as a group. Instead, Bloom finds everything out on her own, and she doesn't have that support system. She doesn't have that immediate friend, so there's a lot of tension. And then to create even more tension, they decide to make a love triangle between Bloom, Sky, and Stella. So Sky and Stella were a thing last year, and Stella broke up with him. And now Sky is enamored with Bloom, and he likes Bloom, and Stella doesn't like that, so she gets back with him to have control over her situation. Where's Brandon? I'm looking for Brandon. Stella's actual boyfriend and then husband. Where's he? I'm looking for him. Unnecessary love triangles. The thing about Winx Club is that Winx Club was all about friendship, being a beautiful, powerful woman who loves fashion and saves the world. And instead, Winx Club Saga gives you something that just simply is not that. There is a lot of tension between the girls. The girls never really hang out as a group. It's usually two over here, two over here, and two over here type of vibe, versus all of them coming together and defeating evil. You just get really weird tension over boys, and none of the girls really understand each other and don't really want to be friends. Musa also gets changed from a music fairy, which was a little bit understandable, to an empath, where she feels everyone else's feelings, but to keep her connected to music, like in the original plot, she wears headphones, and then her music can cancel out other people's emotions. She actually ends up having a really nice friendship with Tara, who was originally supposed to be Flora, but they had a lot of tension in the beginning, and then Musa actually goes on to date her brother Sam, which was another new character that we meet for the first time. And instead of the Winx having the initial threesome, the Tricks that they fight, they actually are fighting a creature called the Burn Ones, who I don't think it was ever really explained. They just don't. They want to eat the fairies, they don't like the fairies, they infect the fairies become burned ones as well. And then to kind of go into Sky, with the whole love triangle thing that they had going on, the Specialists, which were all of the boys in the world, so only fairies were girls and then only boys were specialists, that has been changed as well, which actually I kind of liked. So anyone can be a fairy, men and women, and probably non-binary folk if they were in there too. And then specialists, women can be specialists as well. So that was a nice little change. So instead of there being two separate schools, everyone just goes to Althea together. So we get to see, you would think we'd get to see a lot more interactions between like Riven and Musa, which were the original couple. No, she starts dating somebody named Sam, and then Riven starts dating the villain of the show, Beatrix. Fun fact, I actually liked Beatrix more than I liked Bloom. Bloom felt very much like an angry adolescent girl, and I didn't really like the way they did her character, because like they gave her trauma, which is fine. I mean, everybody's got trauma, but like Bloom was relatively a very happy girl. She was so happy, and she had a great relationship with her parents, and then she just wanted to find out who her birth parents were and what her powers were, so she knew like who she was. In this, it kind of gives you that same vibe of Bloom wanting to know who she is, but she comes off as very combative, very self-centered, and only focusing on herself and her problems versus hanging out with her friends and getting to know them and then getting to master her powers. Instead, she comes off very self-assured in a way that she shouldn't be, to the point where she's harming others. And then she doesn't have any control, and none of her friends are really willing to help her with her powers. And then the one friend who is Layla / Aisha, Bloom doesn't really want her help in the first half of the series. Now the series only has 6 episodes, so the first 3 is just straight tension. then fast forming friendships that feel really forced and not natural, to, I don't know, them saving the world together, but they don't really like each other. All of the friendships feel forced except Musa and Tara. And honestly, oh, I wanted them to be gay so bad. I wanted them to like each other. But they don't. They like the brother. That's fine. Originally, we come into the story and we meet Beatrix, who happens to be like a fairy who seems a little bit on the questionable side, right? She feels like a villain, really weird, funky girl who knows way too much about everything and is way too interested in the director of the college for her own good. And we soon find out that she's like the villain and she has a really dark past, and she's actually very much connected to Bloom. And I actually really liked that. And I liked that Beatrix was kind of like a shout out to Trix because of the way it's spelled. Beatrix, like the trick. I saw what y'all did there. That was cool. I actually really liked her, and I felt like she was a more well-rounded character. And it's so funny, I feel like the best characters in the show were actually the characters that we weren't supposed to like. So Beatrix, Stella, and Tara, I thought they were the best ones there, and I was more concerned about them than anybody else. And then I also thought it was weird that they made Layla / Aisha like the black best friend, but it's not racist because she can swim. What? Like, and then the thing is, they brought in so many character ideas in like the first 3 episodes, and then they no longer mattered after the fact. Like, they just kind of threw it out there. You see Layla swim the one time, and then bam, she doesn't swim anymore. I don't know. I don't know what that meant. I don't know why that was necessary to the plot. If you weren't going to talk about it in a few episodes later. Maybe they just forgot about it. I don't know. The series felt very much like this review all over the place because nothing felt really cohesive. Everybody felt like they had their own separate stories. And then in the last 2 episodes, episode 5 and episode 6, everyone comes together and then begins to work together to save the universe from the burned ones. The burned ones, they were good villains, I guess, but like, we didn't really understand why they were there. We didn't understand why they were coming back. We find out later that they're just here for Bloom because Bloom's the most powerful fairy in the world. Even though she has no control over her magic, and all of her magic can be snuffed out by Layla's, which I thought was very interesting. I need to call her Aisha, but like I grew up calling her Layla. So Bloom is a fire fairy and Layla is a water fairy. So whenever Bloom starts like freaking out with her powers, Layla can literally just water her out. No more problems. I don't know. I feel like Layla should be like the most powerful fairy, but that's none of my business. So overall, I feel like the plot was just okay. It was easy to follow if you didn't think about it too hard. Burned one's bad, Beatrix bad, director of college bad, maybe. Rosalind, maybe bad. But like nothing really got fully explained because they're leading up to season 2, obviously. So for the plot, I give it a 3, which is actually very gracious because my next rating is awful. For fashion, I give it a -5 out of 10. The best thing about Winx Club, the most interesting thing about Winx Club was truly the fashion, especially when you're a young girl watching this. Everybody looks good all the time. The transformations, killer. There were no Winx transformations, and even in the first episode, we find out that the Winx, the fairies, no longer have wings and don't transform anymore because they're evolved. They've evolved into this new version of fairies, I guess. Oh my god, the fashion was awful. If you have a redhead playing the main character when the character was originally a redhead who mostly wore blue, why is she now wearing red leather jackets that look like they belonged in her mother's closet? Just a question. Another question. Why, when you have a water fairy who mostly wore neutrals and a little bit of pink, I believe, why is she only wearing blue? And I feel like if you're gonna make such different characters and such variety in this friend group, don't you think they all should have their own personalities that could also be shown through fashion? You know, if Layla is a perfectionist and she works very hard and she's very determined, don't you think she should have very strong cuts to her fashion? Don't you think it should be very neutral fashion where you don't want to really focus on what she's wearing, you want to focus on what she's saying and what she's doing, right? If you have Bloom, a fairy from California and not Gardenia, shouldn't she be in, I don't know, maybe like bell bottoms and crop tops and like very loose fitting chill clothes because like you're in a hot environment or whatnot? From California to Ireland. This was all shot in Ireland, by the way. For Stella always gave me like Sharpay Evans vibes. Why does she look like an old lady? Why does she look like an old lady? I just want to know why she look like that. I need to know. Why is she dressed like that? That don't make no sense to me. To me, that don't make no sense. Winx was so pretty. It was such a pretty cartoon. You would think they'd want to translate that. Even though the situation is very dark and very traumatizing. Winx was already dark and traumatizing. Like, Layla's husband died. He fucking died. He just... Kapooey! Dead! Riven and Musa's toxic relationship. That was dark. You can still have pretty colors. You can still have pretty colors. The fashion, like, that's the thing, like, it could have been so pretty. And then let's talk about another thing. Let's talk about the fact that this is an Italian cartoon. It originally made in Italy. Why does everyone have British accents? Why can't they have Italian accents? Like, I understand why Bloom was like the American and she was from Earth and no one else was from Earth. She was from the first world. So I understood why she didn't have an accent. But if the show was originally made in Italy, why can't they just have Italian accents? Like, and I feel like that's such an American thing to do where you make everybody British. Because I feel like nobody really likes British people more than Americans. They could have been Italian. They could have been shot in Italy. It could have been shot anywhere, honestly. But they pick a very ugly, ugly locations. And I can't tell if they're actually ugly locations or if it was just a lighting decision that they made. I always thought the most important thing about Winx Club was the friendship and the girls getting to know each other and becoming such fast friends, such loyal friends, such dedicated friends where they would do anything for each other. And instead we get a show with like romance drama that just wasn't necessary. Way less characters, way less interesting characters, characters who want to be made fun of and fat shamed, and I really wanted this to be a very fun and special show. Because Winx Club is so fun and special to me. Like, I still watch it now. When I was preparing for this video, making this video, I was watching the first couple episodes of Winx Club and I rewatched the episode of Fate, and it just felt really off the mark. Bloom burning her house down because her mom told her that, like, no privacy, no agency. So you burn the house down, ma'am. This is a Wendy's. Like, it just didn't feel, it didn't feel like it was written by teenagers for teenagers, or at least people who were teenager adjacent. It felt like very much old people trying to be young, trying to be hip, trying to be cool. I looked up the woman who did the fashion for the show. The last thing she styled was Desperate Housewives in the 2000s, and that shows. It shows. It just really missed the mark, and I really loved Winx Club. I still love Winx Club. I think it's a part of why I am the way I am. Like, look at my makeup. Aw, like, I'm so cute. Like, it was a cute, fun show, and stuff like that really does stick with you. And if this was really for young adults who grew up watching Winx Club, or like just Winx Club adjacent, like, you know, the 16 to 24 demographic, you're not gonna like it. You know, if you know what the Winx is, like, this doesn't feel like Winx. And if you're gonna make something like a live action, I feel like it should be closer to the original content and the original style of content. If you want to make it a little bit older, a little bit sexier, that's fine, because we are all well into our 20s. Like, if you watched Winx Club in 2004, you're an adult now. So if you want to add a little sexy, add a little sexy. Age them up, you know, give them cute Italian accents, and it could be on and poppin'. But instead, they gave us this instead, which just feels like a very weird hybrid of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and Riverdale, and just the CW, just thrown in there and put on Netflix. I don't recommend this to anyone. I don't think it's worth watching. I won't be watching season 2 if it gets a season 2. I would actually love to know your thoughts and comments on the show. Leave a comment down below. Tell me how you felt about it, and if it met your expectations, if it didn't. What were your thoughts? I actually really liked Beatrix. I really liked Stella, and I actually feel like Stella was the most well-rounded character, because she had the issues with her mom, her issues with her magic blinding her previous roommate. I think she was actually more interesting than Bloom, than Layla, than Musa. And I really liked Tara. And it's so funny because they really didn't want us to like Tara, but she was the only person I felt myself really rooting for, and I wanted her to do well and to succeed and to be everything that she wanted to be. I think this show really could have done better. I think it really missed the mark. Overall, I think I give it a 0 out of 10. Yeah, I guess a 0. If you really like Winx Club, all of the episodes are on YouTube. Just watch the shit on YouTube and we'll be alright. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. I don't know if I'm gonna be posting anything else. I might. I might not. Don't get your hopes up. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.